Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into one of the most misunderstood ideas in all of chess, the trade. You know, it seems so simple, but getting this right, well, it can be the difference between being a good player and a truly great one.
All right, let's kick things off with a question you've probably faced 100 times. You're looking at the board, your opponent offers to trade, a knight for a knight. It seems fine, right? Even Steven, 3 points for 3 points. But is it really that simple? Well, the truth is way more complex.
And this right here, this is the whole game. It's such a game changer. We have to stop just counting up the points like it's an accounting exercise. Instead, we've got to think about the future, the energy, the influence our pieces have. Chess is a game of activity.
So, here's the bottom line, and it's a big one. There's really no such thing as a totally neutral trade. Every single time pieces are swapped off the board, the entire personality of the game changes. And you have to ask yourself, who is this helping more?
Okay, so let's start by really digging in and challenging that basic idea that a trade is just about the material value of the pieces.
This right here completely redefines what an even exchange means. It's not about 3 points for 3 points. A trade is only truly even if the pieces you're giving up and the piece you're getting had the exact same potential to change the rest of the game. And let me tell you, that's pretty much never the case.
So, when should you be the one looking for a trade? When should you be actively trying to swap pieces? Let's break down 3 key strategic reasons you should have in your back pocket.
You know how sometimes your opponent's whole position just seems to revolve around one single amazing piece? We could call it their monster piece. It might be a knight sitting on this perfect square or a bishop that slices across the whole board. Your number one job is to spot that piece and get it off the board. This is just the perfect way to think about it. Yeah, maybe you have to trade your good bishop for their monster knight, and that can feel like you're losing something. But by taking out their engine, that one crucial piece, you've stalled their entire plan. The rest of their army just becomes a shiny, useless car body.
This is the classic advice, right? When you're ahead in material, you simplify. The goal here isn't to get fancier, it's to make your advantage so obvious, so undeniable, that converting it into a win becomes easy.
And the logic here is just so powerful. I mean, think about it. An extra rook in the middle of a crowded, messy board is kind of like being stuck in traffic. But in an endgame, on a wide-open board, that extra rook becomes an absolute monster that wins the game by itself. The more you clear the board, the more room your extra piece has to shine.
I mean, just look at this. The situation on the left, 2 rooks versus 1, yeah, it's winning, but it can get tricky. There are ways to mess it up. But if you trade down to the position on the right, 1 rook versus nothing, that's a total cakewalk. Trading from a complicated win to a simple one, that's just smart chess.
Now, for something a little more subtle, sometimes a trade isn't really about the pieces coming off the board at all. It's about what's left behind. It's about giving your opponent a permanent weakness in their pawn structure that's going to bug them for the rest of the game. By forcing a very specific trade, you can saddle your opponent with these long-term headaches. You can give them doubled pawns that can't defend each other, or you can create an isolated queen's pawn that just becomes a target for the rest of the game. These are problems they have to worry about for the next 40 moves, which ties their pieces down while you're free to do what you want.
Okay, but knowing when to trade is only half the battle. Just as important is knowing when to say, nope, not interested. Let's flip the script and look at 3 big reasons to refuse a trade and keep things complicated.
This one is so simple but so important. We've all seen it, right? Your opponent has this sad little bishop that's stuck behind its own pawns. It's totally useless. It's out of the game. So why would you ever do them a favor and trade for it? Isn't this a great way to think about it? Sure, that bishop is technically on the board, but it's not really playing. So don't solve your opponent's problems for them. Let that bad piece just suffocate over there and play the game as if you're already a piece up. All right, this next one is a little more advanced, but it's where you can really start to play some mind games. Sometimes, the threat of a trade is way more powerful than actually making the trade. It's all about keeping the pressure on. Think of it like a stare down. As long as those 2 pieces are just looking at each other, your opponent has to constantly worry and calculate. But the moment you blink and make the capture, you release all that pressure. The position gets simpler for them. By keeping the tension, you keep them on their toes, and you make it more likely they'll be the one to crack.
Okay, this one is huge. If you've got an attack brewing against their king, trading pieces is usually the absolute worst thing you can possibly do. It's like letting all the air out of your own tires right before a race.
You gotta remember these two golden rules. First, trading queens is the fastest way to kill an attack. The queen is your #1 attacker, so keep her on the board. And second, if your opponent is all cramped up with no space, trading pieces gives them breathing room. Don't let them off the hook. Keep the board cluttered and let them suffer.
So we've got all these rules and ideas, but how do you actually apply them in the heat of battle? Let's talk about a practical, pro-level tool that you can start using in your very next game. It's called the ghost piece technique. And yeah, that sounds kind of cool, but it's really just a super simple and incredibly powerful mental trick to figure out if a trade is good for you.
It's literally just 2 steps. First, for just a second, imagine the 2 pieces in the trade have poof, vanished. They're ghosts. Then, you look at what's left on the board and you ask one simple question. Whose remaining army is better? Whose pieces have more influence and control more of the important squares?
And it's really that simple. If taking those pieces off the board doesn't clearly improve your army's position and control, then it's not the right trade for you. Just keep your piece and find a better square for it.
All right, let's bring all this home. With all these rules and techniques, what's the one single idea you should take away from all this? The one thing to burn into your chess brain?
This is your new guiding principle. It's your safety net. If you're looking at a trade and you can't say with confidence, yeah, this definitely helps me more than it helps them, then just don't do it. Every trade has a winner. Your job is to make sure it's you.
So the next time you're playing a game and your opponent offers a trade, what are you going to see? Are you just going to see the math, a simple exchange of points, or are you going to see the whole future of the game unfolding right in front of you?